Hello everyone and welcome back to Whisky Wednesday. Somehow, in the craziness of all of the last couple of years of whiskey and inaugural releases and no one really being able to get their hands on them, here I have a bottle of Ardnahoe inaugural release. 5 years old, 50% ABV. It's mostly bourbon with some sherry casks in it. Not a finish like a joint maturation and then no vatting. No colouring, no chill filtering, and the first brand new whiskey from Islay in almost 2 decades. I think officially Kilchoman released their first single malt about 16 years ago, and now we have this. The first lot of casks were filled at Ardnahoe, I think it was 2018, October I think of 2018, maybe 2019. And the company I work with, the whiskey shop, we, like most of our single casks for years, were solely sourced from Hunter Laing, so we've been able to have a good insight into this project for quite a long time. Got to try a very advanced sample about 2 or 3 months ago, about 4.5 years old, and now here we have this. It was bottled on the 24th of April, and I'm now the owner of one. It is this rather fetching tall decanter. But it does come in a box too. I'll end up throwing this away really because I don't really need it. Says the same stuff. There's some tasting notes. There's some things about that. Not too important, the stuff on the box. Some unusual facts about the Ardnahoe distillery is that it has the longest line arm. Sorry, their stills have the longest line arms in Scotch whisky. So this very long copper arm that comes off the still. Much more contact for the vapour. And then they're also the only distillery on Islay that use wormtub condensers, which is something I didn't know before. I thought the odd distillery would have like a wormtub kicking around, but unfortunately not. But this all adds to make up to a rather wonderful whiskey, which I've been trying quite a lot over the last couple of days. We've had a bottle open in the shop, been letting people try it. And one of the most amazing things that's come about from this whiskey is that we've given it to people who have openly said, don't like peated whiskey. And they've ended up enjoying it, which I think is a very interesting thing. There'll always be a whiskey that does that for anyone. Peated Speyside, peated Highland, peated Lowland. Some people like Lefroy the first time they try it. But it's just nice to hear people now possibly having an additional stepping stone into other whiskey flavours. But here's the whiskey in the glass. It's this beautiful golden colour. I can move myself out of focus. I don't know if the lights in here are too bright to really give you an idea of the body of the whiskey. A little bit, we can kind of see that there. My head's also very shiny, so it's picking that up on the focus. But let's smell this. Peat level, I think it's about 35 ppm, so not crazy high, not medium, kind of in the middle. Let's call it medium rare peat. But let's smell, taste, and really dive into this inaugural new Islay whiskey. Something really interesting that I found letting people try this over the last couple of days were the amount of sweet notes that people were getting. Now, about 80% of the makeup of this whiskey is first fill bourbon, so obviously you are going to get more of those sweet notes. But I must say in the glass it reminds me quite a lot of Ardbeg. There are those really ashy, vegetal, smoky notes. It doesn't get into medicinal territory. So when I say this reminds me of Ardbeg, it is that tobacco smoke, cigar smoke, ashtray sort of smoke. We aren't really putting a foot into that medicinal, iodine-y, TCP area. Apologies if you hear thunder and, well, if you see lightning or hear thunder, we're actually in the middle of a bit of a summer storm at the minute. But the amount of sweet notes, and the lead thing that so many people were saying was ginger custard. Whether that's ginger and custard or ginger custard, but I do get that. There are these kind of spicy, earthy tones. I love first fill bourbon in Scotch whisky. I think it's such a unique way to give you good cask influence, but also allow spirit to still be dominant. And I must say it's working perfectly on this. I get like little bits of white chocolate. There's some fruity notes to it, like quite tropical stuff, like apricot, a little bit of mango. There are some nice toppy notes to this, like quite trebly notes too. Obviously I could sit here and smell this all day, but let's taste it and then see what we think and score it. Ooh, it's oily. The initial taste, you're getting these really bright, loud notes that are both a combination of cask influence and spirit. And it's almost like they're running tracks down either side of your tongue. The right hand side is producing these kind of off ginger, licorice, vanilla, but not like really sweet. It's like it's kind of mixed in with some other things like maybe cardamom. It is oily in texture, but it also has a slight taste of olive oil too. And then this side is that smoke. It's green, it's a little vegetal, it's a little earthy. And now, when you kind of pull those flavours around your tongue a little bit more, the ginger starts to move across. There's less of the tropical fruit, in fact I'd say none on the taste. I was hoping to get like a little bit of lemon for some reason. I looked at this whiskey and thought, oh, it might taste like lemon. Like a weird thought that ran through my brain. But there isn't. But it is just this gentle kind of swelling of flavour. It just really kind of runs around your mouth. I'm pretty sure, or whether was it just on the social media stuff? I think it was just on the social media stuff. They were calling it a classic Islay, you know, considering it's new. And I have to agree, I'd say this is a classic Islay. You know, if you gave this to someone who's never tried an Islay whiskey before, I don't think that they'd be missing out on anything that isn't present in others. It's slightly more well balanced. I mean, if we talk about introductory Islay whiskies, in terms of entry-level bottles, things like Laphroaig Select and Laphroaig 10 can still massively divide crowds. Lagavulin 16 is too expensive these days, but the 8-year-old is very good, but it doesn't taste anywhere near as smoky as this, and the cask influence isn't as powerful as it is on this. And it's lower alcohol too. It's 50% versus, I think, 46 on the 8-year-old, or maybe 43. Bruichladdich is unpeated. Port Charlotte's incredible, but the strength could put people off, but this is younger and the same strength. Octomore shouldn't be brought into the conversation just yet. Kalila's probably the closest thing to compare it to. And most of the good Kalila I've ever tried has been in indie bottlings from Hunter Laing. So I wonder if this was somewhat of the inspiration for some of the single cask Islas they've released over the years. The nose now is getting quite biscuity. You get like kind of almond biscuits, kind of barley mash, barley grist. There's the thunder. Hopefully the mic didn't pick that up. Second taste, really moving into this herbaceous territory of stuff now, which again is kind of linking me back to Ardbeg a little bit. With the exception of the colour of the bottle, Ardbeg for me is the most herbaceous of all the Islay whiskies. It's always full of like sage and thyme, rosemary, and sometimes it's quite minty, sometimes it's kind of grassy. Especially with some of the older releases I've tried from Ardbeg, they do get quite grassy. And this has that on the second sip. Gone is that kind of gingery thing. Licorice is still there. And this gentle, very delicate bitterness of oak. That's just kind of running down the middle of my tongue a little bit. Just kind of making me aware of the fact that most of this is first fill casks. Are first fill casks? All in all, I really like it. I have been a little bit spoiled because I got to try it before it was officially bottled. I now own a bottle of it. And it's just nice to see people taking to something really well. Well, there's a couple of nice things for this. It's an inaugural release, which I can physically get. It's in my hand. It's £70 a bottle, which for a peated whiskey at higher alcohol, I don't think is that bad at all. It will be globally available soon. At the minute, I think it's just in the UK. I don't know how many of them were made. In all honesty, I don't care. I think if you're asking that question, you're probably more on the collecting side of things. I'm sure Hunter Laing might tell you, but I've seen speculative numbers online from people saying anywhere from 10,000 to 70,000 bottles. I think 70,000 is a little bit obtuse. But 10,000 for an inaugural release, if it means people are opening it and it's in bars and it's in cabinets and cabinets that have open bottles in them, and we're talking about it, fine, let there be 10, 12, 30,000 bottles of it, it doesn't really matter. But this is lovely. It was one of the whiskies I was most excited about to get this year. Managed to get it, here it is. The bottle itself actually reminds me a little bit of like a clear SMWS bottle. It is different in certain areas, but it has like a reminiscent of SMWS to it. Score-wise, I love the ABV, I love the age statement of 5 years old, love that. The price, I think it's fine, 70 quid is kind of like the new 50 quid. Take that how you will, but in all honesty, I think that is an absolutely stunning first release, and hearing people who don't like peated whiskey, not just Islay whiskey, but peated whiskey, drinking that and saying, oh actually I enjoy that, that's fantastic. Like that's something which just makes my whiskey heart glow with joy, because peated whiskey has all the same flavours as regular whiskey with just the addition of that peatiness. And it's much like cooking food, it's just extra complexity, extra flavour. Peat's like salt and pepper, the way you use it is so important. But score-wise, I'm going to give that an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's an absolutely stunning addition to Islay. I can't wait to get through the bottle and see how it develops and see how it changes. But yeah, thank you all for watching. That's the Ardnahoe inaugural release, and I will see you all next week for something else brand new. Cheers.